Life sucks, specifically the 2017 horror sci-fi film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds, and Rebecca Ferguson, kind of sucks. And we're going to talk about that. Life is the story of a group of astronauts aboard the ISS whose job it is to intercept a satellite filled with mineral samples from Mars. When they do so, they discover what they could only dream of: life. Specifically, it's a little clump of cells they nickname Calvin, and all signs point to Calvin being a groundbreaking and inspirational discovery for the crew. Unless, of course, you've seen a movie, in which case I think you know exactly where this is going. Calvin goes bug nuts, people die, and there are twists to be had. Now, there are some really good elements to Life. Specifically, there's 2 death scenes that I think are, in one case, extremely tense to the point of being the best scene in the film, and in the other case, quite possibly the most creative death scene I've ever seen in space in a movie. It's horrifying, it's disturbing, and it's a real standout. There's also a slew of great performances in the film. Ryan Reynolds kind of plays your typical funny Ryan Reynolds character, and it works within the film. The way that they use him is very smart, and if you hate Ryan Reynolds, I think you'll be okay here. As far as Jake Gyllenhaal, he does his usual kind of soft-spoken thing that he's so known for now. Rebecca Ferguson is a good female lead. There's a lot of international flavor here. Probably the standout is Ariane Bakare, whose name I'm probably butchering, but he is a paraplegic scientist man. I think he's a biologist, and he's very British and very likable, and his turn within the film is not unexpected, but well played, and he's a very likable character, and probably the standout. I would say he's the most memorable guy in the film. So great job, Ariane, or however the heck you say his name. The camera work by Seamus McGarvey is also really good. It's not really anything you haven't seen before in Gravity, but if you've seen his other work, 2014's Godzilla, we need to talk about Kevin, Tim Roth's very underrated film, The War Zone. He's a master photographer, and his work here is on par with anything else he's done. It's very claustrophobic on board the ISS, and he makes the most out of his zero-G environment. That said, this is just more of what Gravity already showed us before, except with a more horrific setting. So, you can only get so much more out of that. So it's nothing innovative, but it's good looking, and it serves its purpose. It is a little confusing going around the ISS at times. I wasn't always sure where we were, but that's okay. Now, while Life does have its fair share of very tense and horrific moments, including the flamethrower scene you probably saw in the trailer, which is probably one of the best scenes in the movie, it really undermines itself with a lot of poor decisions. And that brings me to the director and the writers. Many of the obstacles that our heroes have to circumnavigate are really only brought about because of poor writing on their part. A lot of the characters make really dumb decisions, and when your characters are supposed to be really savvy astronauts, and it's a kind of a plot point that they are very savvy, very intelligent astronauts, for them to make really obvious mistakes that even you as the audience in the heat of the moment are saying, maybe you shouldn't do that, it's a bit of a problem. And the script by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, it really highlights those issues. And since these are the writers of Zombieland and Deadpool, I'm thinking maybe they should just stick to comedy. Now, as to the direction by Daniel Espinosa, it's very straightforward. There's not really anything maverick to it. If you look back at Alien, a film that he's trying to make a realistic version of, that had a lot of style to it. And it wasn't, style over substance per se, but it had a style that took away from any negative elements the script might have. Here, it's just kind of straightforward direction. It relies on the great cinematography, but that's all he really has going for him. That and some charismatic actors playing some very cardboard characters. And unfortunately, that safe approach just doesn't work for this kind of movie. And finally, we come to Calvin. Calvin is, how to put this lightly, he is a jellyfish with tentacles. And H.R. Giger, you are not, Calvin. It's an okay design. It's very Lovecraftian, tentacles, kind of a nonsensical appearance. It's a cosmic horror. And I like that. I'm a big Lovecraft fan. I'm a big fan of that kind of aesthetic. But when it's just a CGI mess that floats around in zero-G and kind of doesn't ever have a set power, on one hand it breaks a guy's hand when it's a tiny little thing, but then when it's bigger, it's just rapping on people. It doesn't seem to be doing anything. I don't know. There's not a there's no cohesiveness to Calvin, and the fact that he's unstoppable and doesn't have a set line of powers, it takes away a lot. It leaves the viewer questioning things that they really shouldn't be questioning in the middle of the movie. And by the end, between Calvin and his co-stars, it's just not a very good film. And that's too bad. It undermines itself with straightforwardness, mediocrity, and bad writing. And so, as I said before, life sucks.